Hi, I'm Mark Clogan and welcome to the Photographer Academy. Today we're in the studio with our model Kane. We're going to be doing some male portraits and then develop it onto a little bit more kind of physicality, showing the tone of the body and everything else with it. We decided to opt for Speedlite today, even though in the studio I'd usually be using studio flash. Why? Because it's mains powered. I've got as much power as I want or as little power as I want. It's all connected into my triggers and groups, as you've seen all the films before, but for many of you, kind of get it going with flash and kind of really developing your flash skills will often rely on your entry into a Speedlite. So today, in this first film, we're going to be looking specifically at using the flash in a manual mode with different accessories to really change the character of the model, to change the look and the kind of the dynamic. Then in probably future films, we're going to be looking at the same kind of techniques, but using the TTL functions and so on. So today specifically, we're using the flash, the Speedlite, as a manual flash. Okay, so we're going to have to power it up and down as we're going along. Okay, let's look at the equipment first. As we said, we're using Speedlite. We're using a few accessories. One is going to be the Honnold grids. You've pretty much seen these around quite a lot. Very similar to my studio honeycomb grids, of course. They're just designed and built for a Speedlite. Then the other accessory that we have here is a receiver. I've gone for a really cheap and cheerful receiver, so pretty much affordable is the key point of today's film. And this is just a Flash Wave 3. I'm sure there's newer ones out than that. These have just been kicking around in the bag for a very long time. And then kind of following down the cord here, the cord is just linked into an external power pack. And what the external power pack is going to be, this is just the Slim Compact, the SC Turbo, but we're also using the 3x3s as well, another quantum product. And these just kind of take all the power away from the flash itself. So in other words, all the batteries are doing within the flash is powering up the LEDs, where all the power of the flash is being given from the external battery. So it's a very, very quick charge time and so on. Then, kind of stepping back into the set, we're going to be using similar setups on the Speedlites here, and then we're using a shoot-through umbrella. You notice we've got two of these up. Why? Well, we're going to be using this kind of 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock position for kind of some edgy look. We're also going to be talking about the kind of the clock style of lighting that I teach all the time. So we're going to be looking at the basics of 4 and 10 or 8 and 2 o'clock to give us that kind of difference as far as the kind of the look is concerned. What we're using the umbrella for, though, is to make the very, very small flash much bigger. And when we've made it much bigger, we're going to soften it as well at the key time, of course, just as it comes through the diffusion material. We're fully aware, even though that this is a shoot-through material here, we've got different surfaces and different finishes of umbrella, should I want to use it at any time as a reflective, but we're not planning to in this film. Then, in the background, the last thing we've got is a strip box. That's a Lastalite hot rod strip box. It's designed for one Speedlite. It's great for when I want to do more of the sport style of photography, bringing some edge light and coming down the sides, kind of bringing out the little bit more mood and, as I said, edginess to the photograph. We don't call it an edge light for edginess. It's an edge light because it's really kind of producing just very, very thin, narrow bands of lighting running down the sides of the body or sides of the face and so on. But by coincidence, it creates a very edgy kind of look if it's used well as well. And that's pretty much it. Metering today, we're using the Sekonic L358. The first thing I've got to do is obviously meter to my working aperture. I'm going to choose a working aperture today of f8. I'm working at 100 ISO, shutter speed 125th. Remember, when you're using the likes of Speedlite flash or studio flash, your camera has a maximum sync in a normal way. There is an option when we're using a Speedlite and we're controlling the triggering from either a cable connected to a Speedlite or through a third-party trigger like a Pocket Wizard, some of the advanced ones, the Flex and the Mini. I can then actually start to work in what is called high-speed sync, which will allow me to work way above the 125th or 200th of a second that we can do with flash itself. So again, different things for different jobs really, but I've kept it as simple as I can today. And even though we're seeing a lot of lights in here, basically we're only going to be beginning off with one, then adding in a second, adding in a third, to really develop the image to see how we can really kind of produce quite powerful photographs. So enough about me, let's get on with the shoot. Kane, come on in for me, shall we? Kane, you're just going to stand around about here for me. Just a little bit of a join there. and just go pretty, just come across a little bit more and just go pretty strong. Just pop your hands in your pockets a touch, leave out the thumbs. What a model, that's cool just there. It's a quick test. I always want to do that first test. Why? Because there might be something wrong I've done compared to the lighting. I might not have put the correct aperture on here. I might not have tested the ISO. So again, it's that little thing. If ever you look on the first shot that you do, if ever you look on the back and it's not quite right, first things first, always check your ISO, because that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that we see photographers make, is that they forget to change it back or higher or lower compared to what they were doing. So that's pretty much giving me the result that I look. I'm shooting in black and white, so you can kind of see what the tonality and the reflectancy is of the skin. And remember, we've had loads of questions through to do with reflectancy of skin and shadow. Remember, on white skin, what we're creating is shadow, and then on black skin, we're creating highlight, and every other tone throughout is exactly the same. Still the key light, its diffusion, everything else will create that similar look, okay, guaranteed. The only thing that we need to do with shooting with white skin is to make sure we're not cooking the highlight too much, otherwise it's going to bleach out. And the other thing that we need to make sure that we do with black skin is to make sure we have that tonality in the shadow is just enough for us to work with. Cool, so that's our first shot there. One light, what are we going to do from here? Well, let's just kind of work a bit of the clock and compass for a minute. So that's our simple 4 o'clock position. I'm going to bring a little bit more edge by just turning this light just around towards the side. Higher that up just a little bit more. Cool. So now we've got the light at the 3 o'clock, so we're going to produce this kind of edge lighting, so it's going to come right down the side, which is pretty much going to split the light. Kane, just move over that way a fraction, just the whole body over to there a minute. Great, so if you just turn to me first, that's great as you are. Great, just there. So that's our next shot. You look very cool, okay, I promise you. Very, very cool here. We've got a white background in the background, of course, because there's very little light hitting that background. It's gone to a dark grey. But there is just enough detail there to separate him away from that background. Now, if I want to just change that look, so in other words, instead of this split light effect, where I've lit the one side and I've let the other side go completely into shadow, all I need to do for the male is if you just turn your feet around towards there a little bit more for me, Kane. A little bit more, brilliant, excellent. And just great, just there, straight at me again. And there we've got that excellent portrait. And remember, you're always going to have more dynamic images with one light if you use it well than you will while you complicate things with 2 and 3 if you don't understand where the light's going to go. So again, one light at a time is absolutely key with it. And then if I want to just soften off that light a little bit more, so in other words, less shadow with it, I can move camera position. So I move into here. Little lean with the head just onto this side for me, Kane. That's great just there. Let me just change my focus point. It's pretty cool. Let's do it. Excellent. So you can see now we've begun to actually bring a little bit more detail down the shadow side of the face, which is just a simple development. That was the same, if you think about it, as me moving that light back around to the 4 o'clock position. Because all I did was move my camera position. So in other words, the camera is always fixed at 6 o'clock. Technically, when the camera moves, the clock face has to move with it as well. It can be a little bit complicated to kind of catch on to it initially when you start to move the camera position. But again, it's great for simple setups. Kane, if you can just turn your back to me, please, and you're going to be looking towards here fully. Step up to me just a touch, whoa, and step towards the light more for me, just a little bit towards there. Just step across a little bit. Brilliant. And looking there again. I'm just shooting the profile, and the light here at the 2 o'clock position is pretty much perfect for this type of photograph. And you can see we've just got a real fantastic one light edge with it. I love it. And it's just down to you about the type of photograph that you want to create during your session with it. And that's something that you've got to be aware of. Variety's king. King makes sales. Okay, so you've got to get as much done in a short time with a client as you can. And the key point to that is think of it in advance of what you're trying to do. Now, whereas with kind of profile images, I'd usually go for a 1 o'clock position with white skin. That is to create more shadow on the right-hand side. With black skin, of course, we're creating that highlight running down the side, and it's perfect every step of the way. Let's bring in the second light source. Same thing again, switching on in turn. the power pack, then the trigger, and then the flash. I'm going to mimic the power settings that I've got on the other one, so that's quarter power. Bring that in, making sure I don't knock out Kane in the stern at the same time. Okay, so my key light is back at the 4 o'clock position. It's here. It's directional now onto Kane. Kane, you're going to come over a little bit more for me. Brilliant, just there. And I've got this light here acting now as a separation light. So that's going to put an edge just down Kane's left-hand side, left arm. The only thing I've got to watch out for is the reflectancy off the white shirt. Remember, as a rule of thumb, white is a kind of a blocking or a reflective colour. So in other words, it's going to throw a lot more of that reflective light back, and that light from behind always appears twice as bright. So we're expecting as it hits a reflective surface that it will kind of increase its intensity. Let's do the quick test shot a minute. Lower the chin, Kane, just a little bit more. Brilliant. Let's have a quick look at that. And as you can see there, it does exactly what we were hoping for, of course. It's added that separation, and it's a great kind of way to start off a two-light setup. Classically, of course, we would tend to have the separation light, in other words, this secondary light here, on the same side as the key light. If I didn't have it on the same side as the key light, one of the things going to happen, it's going to look a little bit false. So in other words, we live on a world still with one sun and one direction to the light. But what I'm kind of mimicking in here with is as if it's being reflected off a mirror or a wall. So that's my excuse for putting the light on the opposite side. But if I was shooting in a classical way, it wouldn't look as good, I promise you. So think about it. If you want more of a classical image, all the lights on the same side. If you want to move away from the classics, then this kind of what we refer to as sandwich lighting. The sandwich lighting is from the one piece of umbrella being a piece of bread here, the other umbrella being another piece of bread there, or the lighting as such really, and Kane's our fill-in for the day. And that's where we get that expression from. Okay, so that's our secondary shot. Let me just do a few more of that. That's cool. I like that. That's fine, Kane. Turn the head this way a little bit more for me. Just going to put a little bit more highlights onto the face. Excellent, just there for me. Keep it. Wicked. Let's go with those hands in the pants again for me, just leaving out. Open the stance just a little bit more. Brilliant. Come over this way just to touch me and step up to me a little bit more. Brilliant, stay there for me. Now, all I've done now is I've moved Kane slightly closer to the light source. So in my head already, I know that I'm going to intensify the light more than my working aperture of f8. And there's a thing that refers to the step stop. So around about 12 inches is around about a step, 12 to 18 inches. And once you kind of get used to it, you know that your exposure will increase or decrease as it goes along. So in other words, as Kane moved towards it, I need to move that lighting back a little bit to kind of guarantee my same working aperture. That's the bits there. Keep it. Great. Let's just turn the body to this way for me, please, Kane. Turn the body fully and turning the head towards me. It's cool just there. That's great. So exactly the same shot as we were doing. The difference being now, of course, is that backlight is acting as a true separation light, running down the back of the hair, running down the back of the neck and the back. Now, this is my kind of creating my key light at 4 o'clock position. But if I want to bring a little bit more edge to the photograph, which I do, I'm just going to kind of intensify the light, so I'm pushing it to 3 o'clock now. So again, this side of the face is going to be a little bit in shadow. However, that, let's shoot the shot first, that accent light running down the side here still gives me a big separation away from the background itself. It's a great way to be able to really create simple, edgy shots with no real work. Okay, one of the things I'm going to do is kind of break most of my rules. We talk about a 6 o'clock position. And the 6 o'clock is where camera exists. Sorry, you won't be able to see anything at this stage until I higher this up. What I'm going to do is create more of flat lighting. And flat lighting is pretty cool on male models, female models at time as well. So it kind of gives us a little bit more accent there of where the light kind of defines itself on the cheekbones. That's key to actually remember that. Just bring that forward just a little bit. Should read me to that. Kane, can you just turn back around towards me again and just do the straight on shot there. Lowering the chin a little bit more for me. That's cool. Excellent. So there we've got our flat light, but as you can see, the light is quite high up. Remember, this speed light is really kind of really high compared to where the umbrella is. Because I've got this kind of adapter on it, one of the problems that I've got is that it basically is just hitting the top part of the head, not really coming in towards the eyes. Something you've got to watch out for, because when we're using a Speedlite, of course, we can't really see where the catch light's going to be. So you need to start to think of like invisible lines of how they hit the subject. So I'm bringing this down quite low, and I'm going to have to actually just get in quite close, just into here. That's great. Straight at me again, mate. And now you can see we've got much better quality of lighting going on towards the face. Why? Because now it's not very, very high. It's coming in towards the face itself. If I want to intensify that more, just a simple little reflector. This is just a silver gold reflector with it. And all I'm going to do is just, once more, just keep my focus point and just pop in that little bit of light towards Kane there, and it just adds that extra little bit of an edge coming in towards the eyes, just gives us that extra catch light coming through as well, but it just lightens that skin more and more. It's a great way to get a simple image with no real work. And remember, the black and white images that you're seeing are right out of camera here, so you're seeing exactly what we're getting. So I've introduced my third light, which is the honeycomb, and that's to give quite a flat light initially on to Kane. But it's these kind of side lights at 2 o'clock and 10 o'clock are really giving us the edginess to this photograph. All I'm doing here with the honeycomb, I've got quite the large honeycomb on now. It's just going to lighten towards the face. The key thing is to make sure that is going to hit his face. Otherwise, you're going to be lighting his chest or above his head. So make sure it's going to do it well. And then obviously meter specifically towards the light source. If you've got other lights going off at the same time, notice that I have my Invacomb, that's this little lumisphere, okay, put in, so it just kind of goes, retracts in there, and then I make sure it doesn't get spilled on by any other lights. Otherwise, I've got to go in turn and switch each one of those off as far as their triggers are concerned, so it's not going to fire. So we've kept to our f8. Let's do the quick test shot, see what we're going to get. That's great, just there. Kane, just go quite strong for me, really kind of. Let's go with the arms. Brilliant. Shut. Lowering the chin a little bit more, bud. That's brilliant. Let's do it. Keep it straight at me. And so we can see exactly what we're getting from that image now. We're getting this amazing kind of strong depth really coming through onto the face here. Great catch light in the eye, but as I was saying, it is a flat lit as far as the honeycomb's concerned. If I wanted to bring more energy to the portrait with the honeycomb instead of the accent lights around the side, I can do that trick I was on about to you before, in other words, that step stop. So I can move this a step towards Kane, making sure it's still hitting his face. If I take the photograph now, it's going to be one stop overexposed. Let's do that for you to show you. Keep it, lower the chin a little bit more. Excellent. So you can see how bright that is within the image now, where I want to obviously turn it back now to the correct exposure for this light. That would be the f11. I can just shoot it. And the benefit in that now, what I'm doing at the same time, I've changed the look of the photograph. And I've changed the look of the photograph because in the first image we took, we've got those accent lights running at the same power as the key light was. Because I've taken that full step forward towards Kane, I've basically increased the exposure by a stop. And by increasing the exposure on him by a stop, and then setting my new working aperture, what I've then done is reduce down the intensity of the light coming in from the sides. So it's a quick trick, and that will work in reverse, of course. So let's go back to the f8 position first. Good as that. Keep it. So we're back to the same intensity of light that we just had. But if I want to make the light from behind very, very bright, kind of really bringing more accent through, what I'm going to do is move this another stop away from him, another step, making sure now that honeycomb really does hit him, and it's not at present because obviously it's the angle of the light. So let me just push that to there. There you go. It's a bit too low, isn't it? Is that better? There you go, it's cool. So now we're at 5.6 of that light. Remember, we've taken it away by a stop. So this is going to intensify the light in coming down the sleeves. Keep it there. And now you can see it really starts to bring a very, very hot spot coming down each side of the cheek and each side of the body and the sleeves. Now, when we're going to do that same technique later on, when we're doing more of the athletic kind of build of the body, that's going to be something that will really actually make him stand off the page, really jump out and kind of create really great images with that. So that's a simple way to be able to create the look with it. If I want to intensify the lighting onto his face more, as I said, we can just bring that forward into here, really start to lower the light. It's F16 in fact, so I'm going to get this back to F8. So all I've done is press the dial and reduce that down by 6 clicks. 3 clicks is a stop on a Speedlite as a rule of thumb, so they go in thirds. And that's how quickly, once you know your equipment, you can really start to shoot. So let's bring my aperture back to F8. Straight at me again. Let's concentrate on more of the headshot, lowering the chin a little bit more, Kane. Excellent. And that is how you're guaranteed to get the results straight out of the camera without any real technical ability except being able to think about where the light's going to be and how you measure it to get the correct exposure. So we've introduced the fourth Speedlite, and I appreciate that for many of you, you've basically only got 2 Speedlights or a maximum of 3. But this is obviously just that extra little edge if you do have a fourth light. I don't have to have it, to be honest, because the umbrellas are pretty much doing what I need as kind of the 2. I've put the honeycomb now as an accent light coming onto the side of the head. But what I've got now is a strip box as my key light. Before I switch on the trigger, let me just show you what kind of the setup is now of the 3 other lights. And they're giving this fantastic edge lighting coming around the side. That honeycomb is just touching the top part of the head as well for full separation. But when I switch on the key light, which is obviously my main light here, remember everything is at F8 now, we've metered it all. So let's do the same shot again. There you go, and you'll see what that is doing. It's spreading the light more, it's giving more of an evenness to the whole kind of look. What you've got to watch though is these kind of shadow bands. It's where the face or part of the body isn't being as lit as much as the accent lights coming through onto the side. And obviously that's just a kind of part of this style of photography. That's what I'm doing, giving us that little bit of edge to it. But if I want to intensify this more, of course, I'd either move this closer, which will increase the exposure, which will obviously dim the rest of them. One of the benefits of a strip box is that I can use it in a horizontal version like I am here, or I could use it in a vertical. The benefits of a horizontal here, if I was photographing like 3 or 4 athletes together or a band or whatever, this could be my key light coming right across the top of them, and we're still going to get a great result across them all. And then I can add in the likes of a honeycomb to accent, say, the lead singer or the captain of the team or whatever it would be. So in fact, let's kind of show you that for a minute. Let's do the same shot. Let's do it. Lower the chin a little bit more. Let's go with our arms crossed, really, really tough. Excellent, just there, let's do it. And again. So that's the key light and the 2 accent lights, as well as the honeycomb. So I'm just going to add a little bit more specularity into the exposure by adding the speed light straight onto the face. Let's do that with it. That's going to give us just that little bit of edge to the lighting as well. Now let's do the same thing again. Lower the chin a little bit more for me. Excellent. And you can see the difference. I'll switch that one off as well. So let's do kind of just here, a little bit of a quick kind of flick through the images. This is without any of the front lights going at all. That's just the 2 edge lights. Let's just bring in the frontal. So this is the strip box. Let's switch the strip box off and switch the honeycomb on. See what that's doing. And then we'll blend them together. So now we've got all 4 lights once more creating that image. So as I talk about so many times, you should be thinking about one light to do one job. That's absolutely key. As a rule of thumb, the light coming in from behind is going to be much brighter than the front light because of reflectancy. Remember that saying, the light from behind appears twice as bright. So in other words, if we're looking to tone down that lighting, especially if we had very pale skin or very blonde white hair or even bald head, we need to minimize that light coming in from the side or from behind by around about a stop or two stops to take away that harshness of the reflectancy of the light. And obviously when we're working with lights, when they combine together, make sure that each one is doing its own job. A bit like I was saying about the honeycomb then, we're just putting that little bit of kicker light just in towards the face, because obviously the strip box here is lighting some of the body as well. So let's finish the film there before we get into the skin shots where we can really take this kind of edginess to another level. So I'm Mark Cleverone for the Photographer Academy. See you next time. Bye-bye.